Hi, my name's Joel Geraci, and I'm the Acrobat Technical Evangelist. Today's focus is on Acrobat alternatives, and for that, I've brought in a resident expert on third-party PDF technology, Ali Hanyulolu. Ali, I know that PDF is an ISO standard. It's been a standard for a while, so there are a lot of third parties, basically anybody, can read the specification and write a tool to both create and work with PDF files. So if I'm considering one of these tools, other than the ones created by Adobe, what should I be thinking about as I go to pick the right one or really use an alternative to Acrobat at all?
Good question, Joel. So let's start by looking at not necessarily what features a specific tool has when consideration is being made for PDF technology. But there are a couple of things that need to be considered at a higher level. The quality of the tool, of course, the reliability, and a third one would be usability as well.
Okay, so when you talk about quality, all the PDF files open up in the reader, they seem to work pretty well. What do you actually mean by quality? What does that mean?
Yeah, good point. So at first glance, it may seem like a PDF is a PDF, right?
Sure.
And it looks the same, it prints the same, looks okay. But you have to look at the details a little bit. There are some technologies out there, some tools, that will create PDF files where the text is nothing more than an image, maybe because it couldn't handle certain open type fonts, for example. So what that means is, though it may look the same, it's actually not useful or usable at all. The viewers can't search, for example.
Oh, okay.
And they can't reuse the information.
Right. Oh, I've seen some of those.
Right, exactly. So that's one example of in terms of quality of PDF. Another thing is in terms of the conversion from the source document to the PDF file. CAD drawings, for example, have a lot of detail in them, right? And they're very large, thousands of objects that are on the page. Well, in some cases, with some tools, things such as curves, even just a simple circle, will actually be turned into straight lines. You may not see it at first glance, but once you zoom in, you'll see that it's not actually a true curve, and instead it's made up of straight lines. And in the CAD world, this is a huge deal, right? The accuracy of the information that is conveyed is absolutely critical to people's workflows.
So you also mentioned reliability and usability. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's lots of examples of this, but it's essentially a case of if you receive a PDF file from someone else, you need to make sure, as an IT professional, that the knowledge workers and the staff that you support can work with that PDF file. That's what I mean by reliability and usability. So it means something like, for example, if someone sends you a secured PDF document, will the tool that you are using be able to not just open that, view it, print it out, but allow others to work with it as well? If that's not the case and all they get are strange error messages saying cannot open file, that's not a useful tool that you are using and providing to your staff there. Another example is working with specific workflows such as forms or review cycles, for example. And Acrobat provides a lot of capabilities to allow others to collect information in the form or be able to collect feedback from others as part of a shared review, for example. Well, recipients of those documents who, if they're not using Adobe Reader, let's say, for example, or Adobe Acrobat, they'll get, again, strange error messages, or they won't know that they are part of a shared review or forms data collection workflow, and they end up resorting back to manual workflows, which kind of defeats the whole purpose.
I work for Adobe, so I use Acrobat, and I've had access to Acrobat for a long time. I know that we put some special information in a PDF file when it's part of one of those form workflows so that people with the free reader can save and digitally sign those documents. What happens to that information when you open it up in a tool that doesn't understand that special sauce?
Yeah, I have first-hand experience with that particular situation. That special sauce, I believe you're referring to, is Reader Enablement.
Exactly, yes.
And so Reader Enablement allows someone who has only the free Adobe Reader to not just fill in a form, but also save it, digitally sign it, and submit it back electronically. Likewise for a shared review. Don't have to have Acrobat in order to add comments, reply to others, and submit those comments back electronically. Now, if you were to open up that particular PDF file with a non-Adobe viewer, there is a highest chance, in fact, it's completely likely, that the non-Adobe tool will not be able to interpret the information contained within to say this is a reader-enabled file. And if you make a change, including just simply adding a comment to that particular PDF file with the non-Adobe tool, you'll end up breaking the reader enablement that's part of that. So when the file is returned back to the person who used Acrobat to send it off, they will actually have a broken workflow.
I see, right, because it doesn't know how to deal with that special information that's in there. Okay, well, I think you've got a bunch of really good points there for people to think about. I'll give you one more. I get a lot of questions via my blog, IT Matters, and one of the issues that came up is that people were sending me examples of forms that they had filled out in another tool, and when they opened them up in Acrobat, the form was blank. But when they tabbed into each of the fields, they could actually see what the value was, but when they tabbed out, it didn't work. So there's another really good example of where somebody doesn't support the full specification, and you can get into a lot of trouble with that.
The full specification is huge, right? It's hundreds of pages long. And Adobe is not just the originator of the specification, but of course now under the auspices of ISO. But Adobe's technologies, such as Adobe Reader and Acrobat, are the ones that support the spec the fullest. And of course, the specification does a lot more than just text and images on something that looks like a printed page. It incorporates a lot of kinds of other content. Form data values is the example you gave, but also rich media such as movies, flash content, 3D, and a lot more can be incorporated in there. That's part of the specification.
Right.
And so only Adobe Reader and Acrobat support that breadth of fit functionality.
Thank you for that. That's great information. But there's one more point that I want to make, and that is that PDF-A is a standard for archiving. And today, Adobe tools are actually the only viewers the only desktop viewers that will view a PDF-A document accurately. So if archiving your files is important to you, you definitely want to use Adobe tools. So Ali, just to play devil's advocate, a lot of these third-party tools, they make pretty good PDF. They work fairly well in most common cases. And if it's not working perfectly, people can just deploy the free Adobe Reader. It's free. They can put it on all the desktops. Do you have anything you want to warn me about there?
You know, a lot of people may say that, but the thing is, you're now dealing with what I call an unconsolidated environment.
Okay.
Because now you've got Adobe Reader, you've got the non-Adobe tools, and you're probably going to have some Acrobat as well around in various pockets.
Sure.
So that's 3 or more tools and software on the desktop dealing with PDF files that an IT professional now needs to manage. That is a very expensive proposition.
Sure.
And there's a lot of research that's out there that actually shows how much it costs, not just to license software, of course, but also to test, deploy, update, and manage. It's very expensive.
Sure.
So we make the argument that basically says, look, if you're going to standardize on a tool, use the one that you know is going to work with the widest range of scenarios that you could possibly face. We know that's Adobe Acrobat.
Sure.
And you're actually going to save money by standardizing on a single tool that will handle all your needs.
Sure, because, I mean, deploying any software, even free software, we know it's not free.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think you've given us a lot to think about today. So if you are considering Acrobat alternatives, please consider some of the details that Ali has outlined for us today. So thank you for your time.